Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We continue with our deliberations right here, centered on the new varsity funding model. Mind you, we're coming to you live from Machakos University, which is playing host to us. And the students have come out in their numbers to equally give their take on this new varsity funding model, their reservations, the areas they think should be improved, even as we roll forward with that particular committee that equally encompasses the comrades to give their take on how we should go forward in terms of implementation of the varsity model. Right before the break, we were deliberating with my panelists. Allow me to reintroduce them once again in case you're just joining us back at home. I'm joined by Beatrice Elachi, Member of Parliament, Dagoretti North, equally joined by Professor Romana Sodhiambo, the Vice Chancellor of Meru University, Emmanuel Manyasa, the Executive Director of Usawa Agenda, and Kingori Ndegwa, who's the Head of Lending at the Higher Education Loans Board. And equally, before the break, I hinted that we have the presence of Dr. Vincent Gaitho, who is a Pro-Chancellor at Mount Kenya University, representing the private universities. In just but a few, he'll be giving us his take on the issues the private universities have been facing when it comes to some of these government-sponsored students and the funding model that is currently being implemented. So just briefly, I'd like us to listen to the gentleman, Dr. Vincent Gaitho, before we listen to Bwana Vice Chancellor right next to me. In just 2 minutes or so, it would be proper to get your take, because you equally receive government-sponsored students. What issues are coming out even as this new funding model is being implemented? Are they similar to some of the questions we've had right here from the students? What's your take?
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Vincent Gaitho, and I'm here representing the Fraternity of Private Universities. And I come here not as a competitor. I come here as a friend of the private sector, because you say in private universities, we do not have private people. We train Kenyans. And therefore, we are here as friends. In terms of funding, the private university entered into relationship with the government in terms of receiving government-sponsored students around 2016. And in 2016, government started placing students who are government-sponsored to train in private universities. And the students who came to private universities had a capped budget. We had just enough money to train them. But every other year, the numbers increased. And the budget that was capped, therefore, reduced in terms of the allocation per student. It started with 70,000. By the time we walked or we were kicked out of that arrangement, we were receiving about 20,000 per student, which means the private sector was actually doing a lot of scholarship and support of government-sponsored students. Today, we do not receive government-sponsored students in private universities. But we still have a lot of students who are coming to our universities. And the only interaction we have with the funding, the new funding model, is at HELB. Our students receive loans from the funding board. And it has become a very useful source of funding for our students. So from this discussion, and as I listen to the students, and as I listen to stakeholders, the biggest challenge we have is the funds, the money. We need to boost HELB. How do we boost HELB? There are various sources that we are seeing as opportunity that can help to mob money, put it in HELB, so that HELB, because it is the one body that has the mandate, can support education. Among the sources, we have, for example, the unclaimed asset. In the unclaimed asset, we have about 45 billion that is lying in the unclaimed asset. If this money can be made accessible by HELB, then HELB can use that money to fund students. And that money will be made available to the owners when they claim. The other possible source is we have all these corporates. Every year, they're announcing hyper profits from the businesses they do. Now, these businesses that they do are supported and run by graduates from universities and colleges. Therefore, for them to remain sustainable, they need also to support the very people or the sources that provide them with labor. And therefore, they can't be made to attend to help and put in money.
Okay.
And maybe before cutting me short, we have another source. Yesterday, or the day before, the president received about 5 billion worthy of money from ASCC. Illegal money. Money that has been stolen. It is now in government. Where does that money go? Can we put this money to support university education? Because what we are missing here is access to funding. So, HELB can actually have enough funds. And after HELB has supported education, they need to give students enough time, moratorium, enough time, like 5 to 10 years. Because when these guys graduate, they are young, they are settling, they don't even have the capacity to pay. Give them a period, like 5 to 10 years, then they'll pay. I'm sure they will pay. We paid. And I think that among other things, would bring a lot of funding to help. And with help with money, it will be able to support the students. And the students, I'm sure, they'll be able to pay the money they have been given for the education.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Dr. Vincent Guy, though, just giving his stake as a stakeholder in the private universities. And we just want to engage Bwana VC here briefly. There were claims that, mismanagement within these public universities has led to the debt crunch, the cash crunch we are seeing in some of these institutions. Kindly respond to that briefly before we cross over back to the audience for another round of questions.
Thank you very much. Somebody asked whether I was ever poor, whether I went to school, wherever. I would like to just tell you that I grew up at the border between Kenya and Tanzania, next to Tarime, but I'm a Kenyan. And during those times, the fees in primary school was around 3 to 5 shillings per term. And my mother and my father were not able to pay. So I used to be sent home every now and then. And then when I went to secondary school from 1 to Form 4 in Kanatonga, Musocho, those early years, it was a very good school. I was not able to pay fees. I could cut trees, make charcoal, and go to university, pay the fees. And then the others, there were Sungus who were there, were paying for me bursaries, what you call the scholarship and all the rest. That happened up to Form 6. We used to go take 6 years in high school. Then finally I came to a university, and thank God for High Education Loan Board. Then, the boom that the Mheshimiwa is talking about, that's the same money used to be around 2,000 to 5,000. That's the money I used to buy blankets and everything, and paying fees for my siblings and what have you, and still able to survive. And so I cleared, and then I came for the master's. I didn't have money. I was also sponsored by German Academic Exchange, and PhD the same. So yes, I feel for you. Today I'm a vice chancellor because of the hard-earned education. Education is an equalizer. Education costs money. Education causes some people to come and stand for you. Now, during our time with the MP here and all of us here, we were very few. And so the government was able to do most of these things. Today, he has just said that as we talk right now, out of 153,000 students who got C+ and above, 146,000 have already signed in. You can see the problem. But let me go back to the last thing about the banking, what many Kenyans are thinking that we as vice chancellors, we are mismanaging the public resources. It's not true. The vice chancellor is just a CEO, and the government is the owner of the university. The government has put the council that does oversight, checking whether the finances are being used right, left, and wherever correctly. Even today, I had my council, and they were approving the budget. Every 3 months, every quarter, they come to the university to check whether you are using the money properly, and everything is accounted for. The same council, when they have gone, they leave what we call a CIA, Chief Internal Auditor. That checks whether you use the money properly.
Okay.
The same council, the same government has also an external audit from the Office of Auditor General. They audit everything. I would like to tell you guys, we are Kenyans, and we mean well for our children, for you guys, and we want you to get the best education. No vice chancellor can mismanage the university fees for poor students like you.
Okay, well noted. Let's cross over back for some 1 or 2 questions, just briefly, before we finalize with our panelists. Okay, Suleiman Yeri, over to you.
Leo nimeingia sokoni. Kila mmoja anataka kuchukua. Sasa sababu ya muda nitachukua mtu mmoja. Mniruhusu nichukue mtu mmoja peke yake. Nataka kuangalia agenda. Maana wanaume mmeongea. Niangalie agenda kwa dakika chache tu. Kwa dakika moja peke yake. Dakika moja peke yake. Nitakushikia mikrofoni.
I'm John Paul Ekisa. I'm a second year student. For example, last year, I applied for my help last year. So I was placed in band 4. I have reapplied, and then I've been put to band 3. So in the previous year, will they pay the money that they didn't pay for me in the first year, Because these first years, they've entered their first semester, I think last month. So they were given the grace period of reapplying when they are still in first year. So those help things will be okay from first year.
Okay.
Now what about me who applied last year and I didn't, we were never given a chance to reapply.
To change.
Yes.
Okay, we get your question loud and clear. Let's get one more for the benefit of time. Real briefly.
Nipatie mwanadada.
Thank you. I'm Victoria Mweni, former student leader, the academic secretary. I have 3 questions. Because of time, I want to start with the second years who are second years now. We understand now we are talking about the first years. What about the second years who are placed in the wrong bands, reapplied, and no feedback from the help? Second thing, I want to talk to my friend, the MP from Madam Elachi. We understand the CDF that is given to MPs in the constituencies. How do you account that the money that is given to students is well accounted for? So, because we understand the CDF is corrupt. Another thing, if you want a bursary, and I remember the CJ, Martha Koome, said that if we can take the CDF, the money given to the governors for bursaries, and also we have money for women rep that is given to them to fund students in universities and maybe high schools. So I'm just asking if I can talk to the lending officer from HELB, if they can sit with the Commission of Universities and the HELB, another commission that came up with this model, collect this money, because I've had the VC from the private university has said we lack places to get money to fund the education, but I know our country is very rich. And if the country is very rich, we know education can be very free. If we see the CDF is corrupt, the governors, maybe bursary is very corrupt, and also the funding that is given to women is also corrupt. If we come up with a criteria to collect all this money and put it to education, I know the education is going to be free, and these students here, they are going to benefit the country of Kenya by supporting what the government is giving them. Yes.
Hello. I have a question. as the employer of this country, by the way, I'm paying you tax. So the help, stand up, just a minute. Just stand up. I have a question to you. There is a band that was allocated in 27th of this month, of last month. That help has not been seen. Are you guys trying to tell us you give us wrong information on social media, but we don't see the funds? That is the first question. I'm noting them down in my head. Number 2, these comrades here, 10% of these comrades are paying fees by their parents. You are the person who gave out the new funding model as per KICC. Yes. Wait. Yes. So this is my question. This is my question, by the way. This is my chance with you. So to you, these comrades are suffering. That's number 1. I'm not being affected by the new funding model, but they are suffering. Most of these comrades are paying fees by themselves, not parents. So don't subject us to parents. A comrade asked you last time, if a parent has cows, but is not paying fees through KRA, is that parent going to be subjected as needy with hundreds of cows, but is not needy? Number 2. No, don't cut me short, please. Yes, I'm also live. Muko live, tuko live. Yes, I'm asking you. So, next. The question is this. A comrade paying fees. Personally, if you call my mom, I'll give you his number. I'm paying fees for myself. If I was in the new funding model, I would become a thug. That's the truth. Why? I'm doing economic statistics, paying 16,100 this semester. Somebody who is considered on band 1, considered 5% household, is paying 20-something thousand. Are you fair? You are not. Ni sawa we, ndugu nini, unalipa. Yeah, tulia.
Okay, bro, let's do this, eh? Sawa, since we have to air news on air, allow us to conclude on air at that particular point, though we'll be coming back after the first commercial break on air. The conversation will continue here. So all your questions will be addressed by the panelists, okay? So hapo tumekubaliana. Allow us to take a short commercial break for our viewers who are watching on KTN. We come back at 9:20 after that commercial break as we get the closing remarks of the panelists. Even as we do that and KTN shifts to normal programming, let's go to the questions that have been raised so far, because we need answers, yeah? And they seem to be insisting that the individual from HELP should be the first one to address them, okay? So let's take that commercial break for viewers watching back at home. We take that break. We'll be back a little bit later on, even as we continue with this very important town hall centered on the university funding model, which is causing uproar. Some support it, some are up in arms against it. Which side will have their way and their say? Do stay with us for much more.